I'm a possum and I find garbage. This garbage is Black Widow, the new Marvel movie about superheroes, whatever. Here's the thing, I really don't care about the MCU. I never did. Quite frankly, it's shocking to me that more people aren't totally sick of it. But I guess this is how I make my living talking about movies. So let's talk about Black Widow now. I'm not home right now. I'm just recording this on my phone. So this is gonna be a really probably short video. I didn't even write a script, so I could even barely even remember what happened in the movie. So I guess I'm just gonna ramble. Okay, so a lot of things are just generally stupid in the movie. Like one of the big plot things is Black Widow. She wants to find this place called the Red Room. It's like the bad guy's hideout or lair or whatever, where he like brainwashes women into becoming like assassins. He's like the bad guy. I think his name is Drakov or something. He's like this evil Russian dude. I don't know if he's from the comics or whatever, or if they just made him up for the movie. I don't know. I don't read the comics. I don't care about the comics. But the guy named Drakov, he's short and fat, old, and is a movie villain. So Black Widow wants to find this place where he's like brainwashing women, and so she's got to go all over, asking information, and she has to find this guy named Red something, Red Guard, I think. He's like basically the communist Captain America, like the Russian equivalent of Captain America. So she has to go to like Siberia or someplace like that to find this guy in prison, somewhere up in the mountains where it's all like frozen. And while trying to break him out, her and her sister, who she teams up with, accidentally cause an avalanche, and they like escape in a helicopter with this guy, and the avalanche just kills everyone in the prison. There's like hundreds of prisoners and guards in this prison who have nothing at all to do with the bad guy, as far as I'm aware. I don't remember if they're connected in any way, but yeah, they just kill all these people with an avalanche, and they just fly away. They don't even care. In fact, they play it for laughs, because the guy, like, as they're flying away, the guy says in Russian, and it's like subtitled, something like "farewell douchebags" or something like that. So they just killed like tons of people who are even like connected to the plot. It's like you like to say, oh, they're not innocent bystanders because they're all prisoners. But what about the guards? They're just doing their job. And the prisoners, like, they could be political prisoners for all you know. This is Russia. So, anyway. After killing, like, hundreds of innocent people, they land somewhere. Turns out this guy, Red Guard, is Black Widow's father or whatever. So they go and meet up with her mother. I don't even remember her name. But then they they concoct some plan, but you don't find out it's a plan until later. But basically, the movie makes you think her mother betrayed them and had all these like the bad guys henchmen come and capture them with like knockout darts or whatever. So they go to the bad guy's fortress, and it turns out the fortress, the Red Room as it's called, is this big floating castle thing basically in the sky. So Black Widow's like, I gotta find the Red Room. Where's the Red Room? I gotta travel all over the world and ask all these people how to find the Red Room. It turns out it's just this big floating military base in the sky. Like, it's like the size of the Sears Tower. And it's just floating in the sky somewhere. Like, that would be literally the easiest thing in the world to find, right? It's not even like it's floating over the ocean or something, because when they blow it up and it comes crashing down to the ground, there's just like land under there, and it's evidently somewhere in North America because the FBI immediately shows up to arrest uh, what's her name, the main character, Black Widow. So it's not even like it's in the middle of the ocean or floating somewhere above Russia or whatever. It's you can't find it. This floating fortress that's like the size of Mount Everest. Jesus Christ. Okay, there's just a lot of things in there that are just generally stupid like that. Like, there's a part where they're in the fortress and Black Widow's sister, who she teams up with at some point, uh, she's like fighting these guards and she gets her hands on a grenade launcher and she just fires it into this thing. And this causes the flying fortress thing to start crashing down to the earth. And I'm just like, why would this guy have a grenade launcher? They're inside the building, right? The flying building. Why would this guy have like, he's a guard on a flying military base or whatever it is in the sky. He's inside an enclosed space. He has a grenade launcher. Is that standard issue? Like when you become a security guard on an oil refinery, do they give you a flamethrower? Uh, Jesus. So then, uh, I guess Black Widow. I keep forgetting her name because she's like the most forgettable of the Avengers. So anyway, Black Widow. She has like she has a showdown with the main bad guy. Like she goes into his office and he's doing like the whole plot. Like the MacGuffin is like this weird gas that gives you like that lets you mind control people. I guess. So he's got like pheromones coming off him that like stop her from shooting him or stabbing him. So he's like able to beat her up. But then like she in order to get around this, she like while the guy is explaining his evil plan like some kind of Bond villain, she slams her head into a desk. Like she headbutts the guy's desk in order to damage a nerve in her brain to make herself immune to the mind control gas. Now, I've heard people on Twitter argue, oh no, she was breaking her nose. She broke her nose so she couldn't smell the mind control pheromones. Like, okay, well, I don't think like it's still gonna go in your nose when you're breathing it. Just because you can't smell it doesn't mean it won't affect you. And second, I'm pretty sure she actually says the specific phrase "sever the nerve," which is, and she points at her forehead, which is to imply that she was damaging something in her brain in order to prevent the gas from affecting her. So uh, she literally gave herself brain damage in order to save the world. Now, remember in Endgame when she like heroically sacrificed herself and she died, and that was like the end of her character. Like she doesn't come back in Endgame, right? That could have been the note they ended on with her like heroically sacrificing herself. Well, this movie takes place before then. It's like I don't know. It takes place I think after Civil War or something. Anyway, so they could have ended on her, sacrificing herself heroically. But now the last thing we're all gonna remember her doing is headbutting a desk and intentionally giving herself brain damage. That's the note her character's going out on. And then the movie has a lot of these like if I kind of said the same thing about the Mortal Kombat movie that just came out, where it feels like a video game because it'll just like go from action scene to action scene with like 2 minutes of dialogue in between, and a lot of these action scenes are like not connected in any way. Like just like she'll like have a fight with some bad guy and then she'll go meet up with her sister and her sister's mad at her so that they fight and they talk for like 2 minutes and then like within the same scene a bunch of bad guys will just show up and start shooting at them and then a big chase ensues. Like they're like going down the street or whatever, and then it's like this big long chase scene, so it just goes from like action scene to action scene to action scene like a video game. If you're living in like the world of Mad Max or something, where you're like constantly on the run, and the whole plot is these people are constantly trying to kill you, and it all takes place in like one day, then that kind of makes sense. But these fight scenes are like a lot of these things just feel random and unconnected, because when she goes to like meet up with her sister, and they just fight, and like it feels completely random, because and then like 30 seconds later there's people shooting at them, like just by total coincidence. Like they're just shoehorning in action scenes for the sake of having action scenes without really doing much to justify them in the plot. So it feels like a video game, like the stupid Mortal Kombat movie. Then what else happened? I'm like struggling to remember the movie. Oh, there's this guy with a mask, Taskmaster, I think his name is. Apparently, he's this big character from the comics. I never read the comics. I don't know anything about him. Like, what I know about him is just what I've seen people complaining about on Twitter. But it turns out, like this guy, his power is he can like copy the abilities of other people. Maybe not their superpowers, but he can like copy their like fighting moves or whatever, right? So if he sees like you're good with a bow, he can just copy that and he be also instantly be good with a bow or something like that. I'm not sure. Turns out like, at some point he takes his mask off, and it turns out he's like actually the daughter of the bad guy Drakov, who years ago Black Widow blew up. Like he was like when she was a kid. Like I mean the girl Taskmaster was a kid. Black Widow tried to blow up the bad guy Drakov, but ended up blowing her up. So, but it turns out she survived, and now her face is all burnt up, and she doesn't talk. So she's basically Deadpool from that one really bad X-Men movie. Uh, was it Origins Wolverine, whatever it was called? The one where his mouth is all sewed shut, and then he got decapitated and fell into the cooling tower. Yeah, they did that to him. He's basically that now. So people are complaining about like them butchering this character who I know nothing about other than what they've said on Twitter. So then Red Guard. I don't know anything about Red Guard in the comics either, but he's basically just a comic relief in this movie. He's like the dad character. He's like fat. He's kind of old. He's kind of stupid. So the main the comic relief in this character is essentially a fat, violent communist who breaks people's arms during arm wrestling matches for really no reason other than he's a prick. So yeah, these are our heroes. A woman who blows up children, her sister who causes avalanches that kill hundreds of bystanders, and a fat communist who just breaks people's arms just because he feels like it. These are our heroes. I actually can't remember much of the movie, so I guess I'm done talking. So like, comment, subscribe, support me on Patreon. Bye.